at 8:15, Leicester against West Ham United, and how quickly things can change. More recently, Steve Cooper's Leicester no longer. It is now Ruud van Nistelrooy's at Leicester City. He takes charge of his first Leicester game tonight at home to struggling West Ham. It's fair to say, struggling West Ham. I'm going to get to this, Simon, because it's amazing the impression that Van Nistelrooy has appeared to have made on the Leicester hierarchy in that interim spell that he had at Manchester United. This was Van Nistelrooy on that very topic.
What happened after the games and the amount of interest that all of a sudden was there for me, and the options that came along, I was astonished a little bit by it, because I thought, well, it's 4 games and I've managed a full season at PSV, be able to win the cup and the Charity Shield, and the year before in the championship with young PSV. So I've been in coaching, in the 19s before in the national team. So, and it never got this reaction from the football world. So apparently it provoked these reactions, and I was only happy with that, and to get into conversations with different parties and be able to make a decision that felt really good for me, and now I'm here.
And now you're there. In a moment, we're going to be joined, Simon, by Dutch football expert Marcel van der Kraan. Nobody better than Marcel. He joined us in Germany at the Euros constantly throughout the tournament. Does it go to show, Simon, that there is no better shop window, if you like, than Manchester United?
Well, absolutely. I mean, the fact that he managed 4 games, with the exception of the Chelsea game that you'd have expected him to have gotten results against. He's now alighted upon the team that they smashed in the 2 games that they played, who were poor. And so he has had a remarkable uptake. I said it yesterday. I don't think anybody would have really been considering Ruud van Nistelrooy for many jobs if he hadn't have had this 4-game stint at Manchester United. So it goes to the territory of how much attention gets focused, and perhaps how quickly things can be recognised for good or bad. I mean, I don't know what Leicester are getting. I don't know if Leicester fans know what they're getting. They can't base it upon 4 games at Man United. I would defy the majority of Leicester fans to know how he played at PSV. They might go and look at some stats now and evaluate it, but no one's really paid a lot of attention to Ruud van Nistelrooy's 1 season at PSV and what his philosophies were, how he wants to embrace certain ideals. He's talking about the idea of Maresco, and there might be some sense behind it, because those players enjoyed playing in a certain way, and clearly they didn't enjoy playing for Steve Cooper. And judged by the nature of what we're hearing, which is senior players having access to owners and expressing those views, I don't think that's particularly helpful. But I guess it is what it is in the world that we live in. I don't know what he'll do at Leicester. I don't think anybody can assuredly know, because what are you basing it upon?
Are you baffled by it?
Well, I'm not baffled by it, because I think that the football world makes decisions, as I did in the past, very quickly, and sometimes for the right reasons and sometimes for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
He is a Johnny-come-lately manager. You don't have any credentials. You have 4 games at Manchester United where the atmosphere and the toxicity, both in and around the club, around the departure of the previous manager and around certain players, to me was always going to provide a lift. In the same way that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer provided a lift for Man United when he came in post-Mourinho.
Yeah.
Those 4 games, to me, in isolation, they may well show that a guy that was embraced by the fans, if you go into the desert and give someone a cup of sand and convince them that it's water, they'll drink it because they're so thirsty. And if they believe that Ruud van Nistelrooy was a moment to alight upon, he was given enormous support by United. He's a United legend with his playing deeds. He's a Leicester nobody right now. So it's up to him to be able to get that fan base round.
Let's ask a fellow countryman of Ruud van Nistelrooy's, Marcel van der Kraan, top Dutch football expert. Marcel, good morning to you. Simon posed the question, what are Leicester getting in Van Nistelrooy?
Well, I think Simon's got a fair point, because Ruud has been a success in the Netherlands, only briefly, because he won the Cup, he won the Dutch Johan Cruyff Shield, similar to your Charity Shield. And the football he played, I liked it. It was realistic. I won't say it was super attacking, but Ruud made a remark about that yesterday by declaring, look, I'm not a romantic coach. I'm not a guy who just wants to entertain people. I'm quite realistic. And I think that is based very much on his own playing career, where it was all about results. It was about goals. Didn't matter how they went in. And that period that Ruud had in Holland, in my eyes, was impressive. Also because he didn't just jump in on the big level or the high level and wanted to show what he was like as a coach. He had a 10-year spell to get there. You know, he coached all the youth teams, coached the under-19s, and he also got on very well with a lot of young players. And I'll come to that in a minute. But where I think Simon has a good point is that Ruud was successful in the Netherlands. Amorim was successful in Portugal. But those are leagues where only 2 or 3 clubs can win the title or every year win the title. It's not very difficult in those sort of countries. You don't play all the top teams, all the big matches every week. You've got 33% to win a title in Portugal and in the Netherlands. And now comes the crucial stage. What can he do at Leicester?
What might he do at Leicester, do you think? What do you expect, Marcel? Have you any idea what kind of Leicester City we're going to see in the coming weeks?
Well, there is 2 things. One is the development or the improvement of certain players, in particular the young talents. Ruud's made a lot of phone calls over the last few days before he took the job. He wanted to know what the characters were of certain players. He could see there is talent there. He's seen players. He played them twice with Man United. But he also wanted to know the character. And that's why he got in contact, among others, with Maresca, because he wanted to know, can I work with these players? And it's so important for him that he sees the potential there of their character. And the reason is, when he was at PSV Eindhoven, he didn't have the most easy boys. He had some really difficult, complicated characters, but he knew how to get about them and he knew how to work with them because he could see, what kind of character there was. Is it destructive in a dressing room or not? Is there potential? Noni Madueke became a top player on rim. Xavi Simons, who was playing for the national team, also became a top player under Ruud. They were there. Saibari is another one. He's at the moment by far the top player. Ismail Sabari, Moroccan attacking midfielder, is a player who I can see Ruud will go for at some stage this season or at the end of the season if things go well. And if he's given the money, because that will be a player he's worked with before, and it was absolutely top talent in Europe. So the structure he mentioned yesterday, I might do something on the structure. Now that is, I think, where he wants to get the team in the right spirit, because he knows that it's a squad, a group of players who have had strong opinions about things, who have caused uproar in the last couple of weeks. And I think he's that sort of guy who can handle that.
I think, Marcel, Simon, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we are basically intrigued to see what Leicester are going to do under Van Nistelrooy.
Well, yeah, because they've made a decision, predominantly Leicester. I don't think, and I don't know if Marcel agrees with me, I don't think Leicester would be selecting Ruud van Nistelrooy if he hadn't have had these 4 games in charge of Manchester United based upon his performance in the Netherlands. Do you think, Marcel, if you were looking at it objectively, and I don't know whether he's your friend or not, do you think he's likely to be a successful manager based upon what you've seen him? Because you've seen a lot of him in the Netherlands. You've been able to characterise what he does and how he's done it previously. Do you expect him to make this transition in the Premier League and be a successful manager?
Yes, I do, Simon. And that's because Ruud knows the culture in England. And I've always said on this programme before, and also with you guys, if you haven't played in England as a player in the Premier League, if you haven't sniffed the culture, if you don't know how it works, it's really difficult. And that's why I always had my reservations, big reservations, about Erik ten Hag arriving at Man United. I thought he was bound for the German Bundesliga because he was much more that kind of person in that football and in that culture. Ruud also has something about him which I call ruthless. He knows how to be tough, and he's quite composed. He's calm. He has a strong philosophy, but like he said yesterday, I'm not a romantic kind of guy in football. When it comes to it, he'll make tough decisions.
Yeah.
And Ruud, maybe we have to go back to one incident in his career, which was labelled with that for too much. He was quite inflammable. When he was a player under Dick Advocaat in the Dutch national team, there was a match, a very important qualifier, where he was desperate to score, and it didn't work out that game, and he was taken off. When he came off the pitch in Prague, I was there. He saw a water bottle standing on the touchline, and I think Dick Advocaat had to dive because it went flying from his boot. And it was something that an explosive moment where everybody thought, this guy, he can't control himself. But maybe that was the player, and it also showed how fanatic he was. And he's still as fanatic as a coach.
Sure. The big question is, Marcel, will he keep them up?
I think he will. I put my money on him, yes.
Yeah. And very briefly, in a sentence or two, when are we seeing Ten Hag again?
Not in this country. Well, I mean, England or the Netherlands. I think next destination will be Germany. And if we all look at the club where he was also able to go before he joined Man United, RB Leipzig, they are having a right struggle, lost all their games in the Champions League. They got a hammering of 5-1. Their coach, Marco Rose, is under big pressure. I think they are looking at him at the moment, and it could be a moment where Man United think, maybe that will save us a few pennies if he joins them soon.
Okay, Marcel, thank you very much indeed. Marcel van der Kraan is speaking to us this morning on the fact that Ruud van Nistelrooy is now in charge of Leicester City, and they go in tonight in the Premier League, his first game in charge of them.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.